Hi everybody. So this video will generate a little bit of controversy, but that's okay because it's good to have different opinions when it comes to football and open up discussion, debate, and all that. Um, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about the 32 teams in the World Cup, how I would rank them from worst to best, from 32nd to first. Now, I thought about making this an analysis video, and I actually, earlier today, recorded about 40 plus minutes of said material to upload, but it got accidentally deleted, much to my frustration. But then I got to thinking that I should save the in-depth analysis for these teams when I start my team profile series, which, by the way, guys, is going to come on May the 23rd, so this coming week. I'm doing 32 teams in 16 days, from May 23rd until about June 8th, June 9th, 2 teams a day, and that'll be pretty much the only videos that I make in that 2-week time period. So, and I thought to myself, most of what I said earlier today in my other recorded video that got deleted is more or less what I was going to say in my team profile, the same information. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to get repetitive. And then you go back and you watch those profile videos and you say, wait, this is the same things that he said in his ranking video. A ranking video should only have a rank, maybe a brief explanation, and then that's it. So I'm going to give you my rankings, provide little brief explanations for some choices that may be unexpected, and then you'll get much more information during my team profile videos. So jumping in at number 32, the worst team entering this World Cup, in my opinion, is Panama. Number 31, the next 4 teams are all from the Asian Confederation. But number 31 is not the one that you're probably thinking. I'm guessing you think maybe Saudi Arabia. Well, I have South Korea. Despite, Sung Heung-min, who's arguably the hottest Asian player on the market right now, South Korea limped across the finish line in qualification. They did not look good in the recent March international friendly window. So I put them at 31. I also think they are grossly outmatched by all 3 of their group stage opponents in the World Cup. They had their last game against the defending champions, Germany, which is, very unideal. They're playing against an aggressive, high-tempo, high-flair side in Mexico. I think Mexico's brand of football does not match up very well with South Korea. And then they play Sweden, who I think will dominate them physically and also on set pieces and in the aerial position as well. Number 30, I have Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, one of the weaker sides of this tournament. They do have some quality. A lot of the players that are on this team play domestically in the Saudi League, so maybe that could benefit them, give them an air of familiarity and fraternity among the players. For my money, the Saudi League is the best one in West Asia. They sent out a couple players to La Liga a month or so ago. Even if they don't get playing time, they're still part of the rigorous training session, and that's a good exposure for Saudi Arabia. Number 29, I have Japan. Japan, managerial change barely more than a month ago, replacing Vahid Halilhodzic with Akira Nishino, and a JFA insider. It's not a good look when your team changes leadership this close to a tournament. The players lost confidence in Halilhodzic. I get that, but this Nishino guy, whoever he is, he had less than 2 months at the time of his appointment to get this team together and get them ready. When you go through a managerial change this close to the World Cup, that usually not in every case, but it usually spells doom. Uh, Number 28 is Australia. Now, Japan beat Australia in qualifying, so why do I have Australia one place higher than Japan? I do it because I think Australia has the best chance to get some kind of result against a better opposition. Australia is not really an Asian team. They play a very. They're more like a second or third tier European side, whose sum is better than their parts. Australia, they had a couple of really respectable results last summer in the 2017 Confederations Cup, getting 2 draws from their 3 games, holding an eventual champion German team to a close 2-3 loss. And I think that pre-tournament participation will prove beneficial to Australia, who I don't think will advance for their group this time, but I suspect they'll do a little bit better than 2014. And look, in the 2005 Confederations Cup Australia took part in, it proved enormously beneficial. The following year, they went on to the round of 16 in the World Cup. Number 27, I have my Egypt team. Yes, I have us as low as number 27. We are the worst of the 5 African nations in this World Cup, and I'll tell you why. Because Hector Cooper plays a borderline anti-football setup with a compact back line, hurling long balls up front to Mohamed Salah on the counter, hoping he'll get on the end of it. I can elaborate on it more, but I don't want my blood pressure to get too high. So take that for what it is. Number 26, Serbia. Yeah, pretty low for Serbia, but the thing with Balkan nations heading into World Cups is they usually follow the same pattern. It's dark horse, high expectation, flat line. And we saw it in 2006 with Serbia and Montenegro, in 2010 when they qualified in a group containing France, and they crashed out again at the World Cup in the group stage. This time around, Serbia, of the 9 group winners, they finished with the least amount of points. A lot of uncertainties with their manager, just like I said with the Japanese team. The Serbian manager, he gets a lot of criticism for being not very competent. He's a young guy who replaced the older man, I think his name was Muslin, who qualified Serbia for the World Cup. There's a lot of questions over whether or not he has a solidified starting 11 for Serbia. That's essentially, that's not very good. Number 25, this will be a surprise. I have Senegal. I don't think Senegal are a top 20 team in this World Cup, and I'll explain why I feel that way. So, individual talent, Sadio Mane, Keita Balde, Koulibaly. But the problem with Senegal, I think, is a large bulk of this team is very young, and I think with that is going to come a lack of experience. And I think it's already been put on display back in the 2017 African Cup of Nations, a tournament in which Senegal arguably should have won, where they went out in the quarterfinals on penalty kicks to the eventual champions Cameroon, who they thoroughly outclassed for 120 minutes. I do think it's one tournament too soon for Senegal. It's a very manageable group they're in with Poland, Colombia, and Japan, but I think they'll fall short this time. They will not go on a run similar as they did in 2002. By the way, Aliou Cisse, the current manager, part of that 2002 team. Think of it this way. Senegal is not the 25th worst team in this tournament. There's just 24 other teams that are better, in my opinion. Number 24, I have Iran. Why on earth would I put Iran ahead of Senegal? I put Iran ahead of Senegal because I like their defensive discipline. This is a golden generation of Iranian players. They did not concede a single goal in qualification until the final match day when they had already secured passage to Russia 2018. They qualified first in their group comfortably, a full 7 points ahead of second place South Korea. They finished in first place overall in the Asian Confederation. They've been the best team in Asia for the last couple of years, managed by Carlos Queiroz. So there's still that air of familiarity. So I put Iran at 24. Number 23 is Costa Rica, who I think is not as good as they were in 2014. They still have the same core group of players. They still have a well-drilled back line in addition to a world-class goalkeeper in Keylor Navas. I think if they can initiate damage control against Brazil, maybe they can squeak through on goal difference to the round of 16. Number 22 is Russia, the host nation, who is better than people think. They're getting their asses kicked in all these friendly fixtures, but they're improved from 2017. They held Brazil off for about 50-55 minutes in a March friendly. The back line for them has been sorted out. The Berezitsky brothers have since retired. Manager Stanislav Cherchesov more or less has a clear idea of who he's sending to the World Cup. Plus, guys, they have the home advantage, the crowd, the atmosphere behind them. So I put Russia at 22. Number 21 is Sweden. This is a team that probably had no business qualifying for this World Cup, toppling giants such as France, the Netherlands, and most notably Italy in the two-legged playoff in the final round of European qualifying. Sweden is back at the World Cup for the first time since 2006. It's not a very stacked team as compared to earlier generations, the early to mid-2000s that had the likes of Henrik Larsson and Elmander and Rosenberg, and yes, a younger Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But Sweden, they will have the confidence of having returned back to a major tournament, and also the tactically astute awareness of their manager, Jan Andersson, who I think is brilliant. Number 20 is Tunisia. They're going to be hurt by Yusuf Misakni's absence, but I do expect Wabi Khazri to step up. Tunisia looked really solid over the March window. In my opinion, they're one of the best three African teams on current form at the moment. Really impressive. And they have World Cup pedigree. They've been at this stage before. They have the experience. And Tunisia is known for always getting a result somewhere in World Cups. They never crash out. They've never advanced past the group stage, but they never crash out. Number 19 is Morocco. They're, North African rivals. Really like Hervé Renard, my favorite manager heading into this tournament. The notorious winner of 2 African Cups of Nations with 2 different countries, the Ivory Coast and Zambia. You talk about well-drilled defense that I mentioned about Iran earlier. It's especially the case with Morocco, conceding 0 goals in the final round of African qualifying. And a lot of their goals that they do score, they're coming from midfield. They're coming from great players like Boutaïb, like Belhanda, like Amrabat, like Ziyech. So this is a defensive team, but a defensive team that can score. And I think they're going to cause a lot of problems for Iran, Portugal, and yes, even Spain. Morocco is an excellent pick for a team that could potentially go on a run to the quarterfinals. Number 18 is Strakar Okar, our boys, Iceland, proving that Euro 2016 was not a fluke when they topped their qualifying group for 2018, one of only 9 countries to do it, ahead of the likes of Croatia, Ukraine, and Turkey. That was a tough qualifying group. It was a tough qualifying group. But Iceland, they can do it again. I think they can do it again. Whew. Get some water. Number 17 is Nigeria, the Super Eagles. Number 17, best team in Africa. Crushed everyone else in their group that was billed the group of death with Algeria and Cameroon, who also premiered in the last World Cup along with Nigeria. They qualified with 2 games left to spare, lambasted Argentina last November. The mood is high in the camp with manager Gernot Rohr. Nigeria, for the first time in a long time, is entering a World Cup scandal-free and with no issues regarding payment with their players. So they're in a good groove at the moment, Nigeria. Number 16 is Denmark, Danish Dynamite. Denmark is one of the few teams, and I'll say this right now, one of the few teams in this tournament that I could see finishing anywhere between crashing out in the group stage and being the dark horse to get to the semifinals. And in my first prediction when the draw came out, I picked Denmark as my surprise semifinalist. I don't think they'll get to the semifinals now. I don't even have them coming out of their group now. But if Christian Eriksen lights it up, there's no telling how far they could go. And also be on the lookout for Pione Sisto, potential breakout star of the tournament. Number 15 is Croatia. Now, similar to Serbia, Croatia, we know for over a decade now they've had one of the best midfields in international football around. But again, also with Serbia, and it seems to be a larger extension of Balkan nations entering major tournaments, it's the same story all over again. Yes, ridiculously talented. Yes, they can go on a run. Will they go on a run? Likely not. But still, their talent alone makes me put them in the top 15. At number 15. Number 14 is Switzerland, who I do not expect to have a good tournament, but same reason as Croatia, a lot of individual talent. Embolo, Shaqiri, Behrami, Zemaili, even Stefan Lichtsteiner, I think, can still contribute nowadays. So I just think, they finished with 9 wins and 1 loss in qualification, 27 points. So Switzerland, they're always in contention to maybe not necessarily go on a deep run, but to how do I say? Switzerland is not a team that you want to play. You don't want to play Switzerland. Like, if you get Switzerland drawn in your group, you don't say, yes, Poland, number 13, Poland. Maybe this is considered too low for some of you. I don't think Poland should have been seeded for the draw. I don't think they're a top 8 national team in the world. Put them at number 13. A little bit of a worry with Poland on inconsistency. I don't know if Lewandowski is really going to show up in this tournament. He had a decent Euro 2016, but he didn't make as large of an impact as many suspected that he would. For my Bayern team this season in the Champions League, I think he's been relatively silent. He's more of a Bundesliga kind of player. Lewandowski, he shined for Poland in qualification, coming in clutch at the end on the final match day against Montenegro. But he's either here or there, Robert Lewandowski. And if he's not there for Poland, I want to see if the likes of Zielinski, Grosicki, Milik, even, yes, an older Jakub Blaszczykowski or Krychowiak can step up and take on the reins of leadership in this team if Lua is not up for it. Number 12 is Peru. Yes, I don't care. Paulo Guerrero's not there. It sucks. But Peru has other options. They look good. 14 matches, unbeaten run. Really healthy relationship with Ricardo Gareca, their manager. Smacked Croatia in the March window. Smacked Iceland in the March window. Deadly on the counterattack. Peru is in good form. They're going through the group. I got them number 12. Number 11 is Mexico. Consistently, by my estimation, the best non-European, non-South American team in the world. And they've been so for a couple of decades now, in my opinion. Mexico always threatening to break through into that mysterious, elusive 5th game, or quinto partido, that they refer to it as. Is it quinto partido? Cinco partido? I don't know. But Mexico is actually one of only 3 teams since 1994 to always advance past the group stage of the World Cup. Here's a little bit of trivia I want you to answer. Who are the only 2 countries to advance past the group stage in every of the last 6 World Cups? Mexico is one of them. There's 2 more. Number 10, we're getting to our top 10. England. England, yeah, they're not going to win the World Cup. They're probably not even contenders. But England is as high as they are on this list because they're England. They're still relevant. The birthplace of football, everyone's interested to see, even if you're not an England fan, everyone knows England. Everyone knows England's presence in a World Cup. And honestly, for my money, I think they have reason to be optimistic. I'm not an England national team expert, but when you're getting results against teams like Germany, Brazil, and Italy, they drew all three of them recently. And when you're on an 8 or 9 match unbeaten run, I think England has some reason to be optimistic. Number 9, get this, number 9 is they who must not be named. Ooh, why is Argentina so low on my list? Because right now, honestly, current form, they're a dumpster fire waiting to be hurled off a cliff. 6-1 versus Spain, qualifying on the final match day through a Lionel Messi hat trick. They might not have even been to this World Cup without him on the final day pulling Argentina across the finish line. Argentina don't look good. They don't look good right now. Sampaoli's system has been failing. He's insisting on building the team around Messi. And yeah, Lionel Messi, he can do some really magical things, but can he take Argentina the full distance by himself? I don't think so. So I have Argentina at number 9 on my list. Number 8 is Colombia, Los Cafeteros, who will have Radamel Falcao back for this tournament. He was not there in 2014. For my money, Colombia is the team with the most amount of depth in their group, in Group H with Poland, Senegal, and Japan. James Rodriguez, one second, I gotta get some water. One second. Okay, that helps. Colombia, I don't expect them to go as far this time as they did last time. But you know what? Colombia, they finished 4th place in South America. They should still come through their group. I think Falcao's presence will really help them this time. And they still got to the quarterfinals in Brazil without him this time. Under same manager, Jose Pekerman, I think they'll be stronger, but they won't have as dominating a performance as they did 4 years ago. Number 7 is Portugal. Portugal, I believe, are one of the contenders to win this tournament, believe it or not. I think they can. Nobody suspected that Euro 2016 Portugal would do what they had did. And when you have Cristiano Ronaldo on your team, anything is possible. Look, Fernando Santos, I saw the squad that he wants to take with him to Russia this summer. And several of the players from Euro 2016 are still there as well. Andre Silva, Rafael Guerreiro, I think is an excellent choice for right back. He was one of the best young players of the Euro 2016 tournament, in my opinion, Rafael Guerreiro. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he have a free kick that hit the crossbar in the few minutes before Eder gave Portugal the decisive winning goal in extra time against France? Portugal, 3rd place last year at the 2017 Confederations Cup. They're always in the conversation. Now, Portugal, they typically carry better form into European tournaments than they do with World Cups, with the exception of 2006 and 1966 way back. But they enter this tournament as a seeded team for the first time ever, I believe. And if they really hit their form, I could see them getting to the semifinals. Number 6 is Belgium. And the only reason I don't have Belgium higher on this list is because Belgium has not yet quite clicked to their full potential. I I consider them sort of a France light, in that the last two major tournaments under Mark Wilmots, they went out earlier than they should have. Well, maybe 2014, they went out to Argentina. You can defend them there, but that Argentina team in that tournament, I don't want to get this into Argentina too much for now, but that Argentine side narrowly clawed their way to the final. In my opinion, Belgium should have beaten Argentina in the quarterfinal of 2014. But anyway, Euro 2016, beautiful pathway to the semifinals. They went out to Wales in the last 8, a 3-1 drubbing. Now, Roberto Martinez is an improvement upon Mark Wilmots. However, that's not really saying a lot. Belgium is just one of those teams that is so supremely talented. You could sit here and name about 16 or 17 different players on there that could form any possible starting 11 that would be very strong. But Belgium they haven't gotten it all together in a way where they become genuine contenders to win a tournament. They're more outside that first tier and in that second group of teams, not in the top 3 or 4, but certainly in the between like 5th and 8th, if you know what I'm saying. They are. The thing about Belgium is this: they are too good to be just labeled lazily as a dark horse, because they're very much more than that. But I don't view them as one of the 3 or 4 favorites to win the tournament. They're somewhere in between, I think. Number 5, this may surprise some of you, is Uruguay. I like how this Uruguay team is looking. They got me thinking. Looking at all these teams, the one that's making me think the most, it's Uruguay. 2nd place in South America. They finally sorted out their midfield woes that have been plaguing them for the last several years. Cavani, coming off one of his best seasons ever. Suarez, he always shows up for his country in major international tournaments. Uruguay look good. For the first time in the 21st century, they didn't have to go through the playoffs to get to the World Cup. Yes, they had Diego Forlan in 2010, but I think this current Uruguay team is all around more complete than that 2010 team. Because like I said, Uruguay, for most of the last 10 years, they've lacked a proper midfield. They have their back line, which is great. Godin, Jimenez, Arevalo Rios. Back then, they had Diego Lugano as well, who's now retired. And then they had up front Cavani, Suarez, Forlan, and then it's like question marks in the middle. Now, Oscar Tabarez has finally sorted that out. This team looked lethal, and I could see them going very far in this tournament, potentially doing something very special. And I think you know what that is. Number 4 is France, La France. I never took French in high school. I took Spanish, I think. Number 4 is France, and France, this decision should speak for itself. The options that Didier Deschamps has to narrow down this team is incredible. The selection that France have of a pool of flavors to choose from is quite impeccable, and they are certainly one of the favorites to go all the way. They should have won Euro 2016. They really should have won on home soil, but they kind of soiled it in the final against Portugal, although that was a very vigilant and hardworking Portuguese side. But France, they look potentially, if they get everything together, you said earlier I called Belgium France light. Well, in previous videos in the past, I referred to France as a more cohesive version of Belgium. If France get it all together and Deschamps gets the right starting 11, they can win this tournament. They might actually be the best team in the world on their best day. Number 3, I have Germany. Now, this is getting to the part of the list, the top 3 or 4, where through process of elimination, you pretty much guess what my list is shaping up to look like. Number 3 is Germany, the defending world champions. I was going to have them number 1 on this list a few months ago. However, one thing that concerns me about Germany is Joachim Löw still is tempted to experiment with false 9 formations. And I think as far as German style of football goes, it just doesn't work for them. He really tried that in Euro 2012, 6 years ago, and it didn't work. And when you have Mario Gomez, who's still in the conversation to serve as your main forward up front, I think that's kind of a problem. But don't make no mistake about it. Germany, their youth system is arguably the best in Europe, if not maybe second best behind France. And the whole revamping of the domestic program that Germany has undertaken ever since the failures of the early 2000s and both Euro tournaments, sandwiched in between a very bizarre run to the World Cup final, which most Germans acknowledge was very lucky. This German team, this is the end product of a more than decade-long project. It is the culmination of all that crafting and revamping that youth system. Joachim Löw, one of his hardest jobs is to narrow down the field to 23. Number 2, I have España. Yes, Spain. Spain is rejuvenated. They have recovered from 2014 and 2016 much faster than I think anybody anticipated. I don't think they've necessarily completely moved on from tiki-taka, but they've evolved from tiki-taka. They've turned it into something more menacing, in my opinion. And they finally, if Diego Costa comes through and he serves as their main man up front, they might actually have an out-and-out striker up front. And, a couple players, Iniesta, PK, they're on the way out. I think PK announced that this will be his last international tournament. Same with Iniesta. But this Spanish team is still very good. And they have come back from the depths of ruin in just a couple of years. Maybe World Cup 2014 and Euro 2016, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe. I'm getting tired. Oh, my voice. Okay, number 1, I have Brazil, who I think is going to win the World Cup. I don't see really any weaknesses on this Brazil team. I looked at the squad that was announced a couple of days ago by Tite, and stacked does not do it any justice. So that's my list. I do think Brazil are the best team in the world right now. I think they're going to win the World Cup. So let me know what you guys think. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, God willing. Until then, have a good one. Much love. Peace.